You've been lied to. If you care to see the plain and simple truth of our near future, listen carefully. To truly change things. Not Barack Obama change, actual change. To truly change things.
This is history as big as history can be made.
We're all artists, but as soon as they get into the school system, bang, it's gone.
Secret societies were set up to preserve human knowledge.
As we understand this consciousness and how it changes what we do.
This is the year our eyes open to the master orchestrator of all large-scale events.
So in these stressful times, art is what brings about change, nothing else.
The greatest war this planet will have ever seen is not far away.
Question everything.
Peterborough FM, one station, many communities.
They've forgotten, or they didn't know, they're remembering. In 2010, I was in Dublin. I got talking to this African shaman who was at an event there. Amazing guy. And he just asked me what I was doing. And I said, I write books and talk about psychopaths. And he went, psychopaths, yeah. I know all about them. And I asked him, why are there so few psychopaths in indigenous cultures? And he said, well, it's because it is what he called it. He says psychopaths are the demon world trying to invade this world.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that.
And he said, and then I said, why do we have so many of them in the West? And he says, it's because you hate yourselves. And it's one of the most profound things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I like
that. He
that.
says you hate yourselves because of advertising and social engineering, and that has opened this door for this psychopathic consciousness to invade the Western person. And that was, even though I came from this thing in the scientific way and the psychology thing, as much as I could, I was never going to discount that there may be some aspect like that to it. But I can honestly say that's where I'm heading now.
Yeah.
Like I can actually say there's as much sense in that. There's as much sense in thinking of it in that way as there is in terms of psychology and neurochemistry or anything like that. They work together. You can understand the psychopathic condition when you consider all the factors, not just the scientific, psychological, psychiatry, neurochemistry, neurological, but when you factor in the allegorical and mythological aspects of psychopaths and how they've been portrayed through myth and legend, through history, in all the cultures, coupled with things like, just understanding it from a sort of the concept of the collective unconscious in terms of this. It's true. It's like I've actually, I've done so many events now, and I've listened to a lot of other speakers talking about all kinds of things, and it's now, to me, it's a spiritual war almost. It's a war between the empathic consciousness and the psychopathic consciousness. The Battle of Armageddon has begun, and it's begun in the domain of human consciousness. And for the first time ever, I think now we're fighting back since we've stopped being indigenous people. You understand?
Yeah.
Like wherever our ancestors came from, mine would have been Druids or whatever like that. Since those times, the awakened community, what we have now, is the first salvo that we've fired back at them.
Mm-hmm. And I really, I just love everything that you're saying, and I'm a believer in what that shaman said as well. And I can very much see it. There's a shadow element that exists within the world that we live in. There's what you can see and there's what you can't see. And depending on how you're wired is how this shadowy influence can come into you or can be penetrated into our consciousness and the way that the world is governed. And I'm finding, and I know of course you can see it too very, very, very clearly, the television shows, the movies, everything is about a vampire or some kind of demon chaser, or it's getting so in your face now that there's no running away from it. There is a definite push of darkness coming into mainstream entertainment, and it's cool to be a vampire, it's cool to be these types of things, it's cool to be a parasite, I guess, if you could even say. And there's something inherently wrong there, but not many people, not everybody is getting it like that.
Yeah, well, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I played in goth bands and stuff like that. And the goth scene then was very different than it is now. It was more like a Victorian melodramatic dress-up thing, more along the kind of English romantic kind of thing. You know, a bit of like powdered makeup to make you look. Meets Hammer horror films from the 60s. So it was very, very innocent, very innocent.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at like goth websites or goth culture magazines, it's young girls with their throats slashed in public toilets, or they've been eviscerated and their guts are hanging out. What's supposed to be their guts hanging out beside a urinal. And this is what you're talking about. This is the psychopathic infection. We have to think of the psychopath as we would a public health issue. It's a disease we must get rid of by isolating ourselves from it. Not only by getting the psychopaths out of our lives, of our personal lives, and not complying with the psychopathic control grid, but also decontaminating our consciousness of the kind of things you're talking about. Get rid of that bloody TB. I mean, those vampire shows are absolutely an allegory of psychopaths. In fact, you know, it's right. You see, it ties in perfectly with what, you know, Carl Jung spoke about, how, you know, culture is the representation of the unresolved shadow of the human psyche.